As I looked upon the weary traveller, his eyes full of fear, "Beware," he cried, "for my warning is something you must hear." He howled, a beast, a monster, all in black, with flashes of blood red that ran down its hunchback. Eyes sharp, blood boiling with brimstone and rage. I tell you, sir, this is the devil, and he is out of his cage. By now, I'm sure you're all quite familiar with the 306 brake horsepower Civic Type R, a hot hatchback that puts two fingers up to the world and tells you it doesn't really care what you have to say. Its bolstered bodywork is enough to give it an antisocial behaviour order, as those flared arches, ducts, vents, splitter, huge spoiler, all the aero that's inspired by the world touring car isn't subtle, but it's certainly functional. We've had plenty of experience with this Type R, but all good things must come to an end, and that's where we are with the FK2. And this Black Edition marks the last 100. Now, this Black Edition car doesn't actually receive any mechanical upgrades, which on face value may be a bit of a disappointment for Type R fans. However, what this car is a celebration of one of the best hot hatchbacks in a generation. This Type R has had a relatively short production life cycle. There's only about 2,500 produced for the UK, and this car will mark the final 100 cars. So whilst the standard car will become a rarity in years to come, the Black Edition really will be the one for collectors to own. It'll be the car that people think back and go, cool, do you remember that spicy FK2 they made? Externally, the car is finished in jet black, and it looks so sinister that it may even have been something that Darth Vader would have given his son Luke had he turned to the dark side. It sneers and growls at other cars in the car park. It's not quiet, it's not subtle, and nor should it be. I think it captures the true essence of a hot hatchback. Visually, Black Editions are picked out via the red endplates on the rear spoiler. Filling those wheel arches are large alloy wheels wearing low-profile Continental tyres. The black is contrasted by red detailing around the rim, and of course you've got those great big Brembo calipers poking out between the spokes. Changes to the Black Edition continue as you move inside and find the red anodised trim on the dashboard. It brings some of that external aggression inside. There's also a set of really supportive, bolstered racing seats, this time not trimmed in red, but a rather sexy black shade. I always crow on about the seats in this car, but they are brilliant. You get plenty of support around your thighs, your shoulders, and also around your ribs, which is perfect for whenever you take the opportunity to put this car on track. The rear seats, as per usual, seats two, and the boot is of course one of the largest in the class, so it's maybe an easier sell to family members whenever you decide to go and buy your performance car. However, the thing that has defined this generation of Civic Type R is its engine. The 2-litre turbocharged VTEC engine producing 306 brake horsepower and a pretty colossal 400 Newton meters of torque. 0 to 62 miles per hour is done and dusted in 5.7 seconds, and it will go on to a top speed of 167 miles per hour. And I can tell you via a series of de-restricted autobahns last summer that it will do at least 167 miles per hour. If it were not for some traffic, it would have been interesting to see how far the car could have really gone, but I can tell you at that point it was still pulling. Whilst launching off the line, this car may lose out to its all-wheel drive counterparts, but once you put your foot down, the car's rolling, that torque comes in from the turbo, and you are flying. The unrelenting shift lights on the dashboard remind you to shift before you bump into the rev limiter of the next gear. And every gear change is wonderfully rewarding thanks to this 6-speed manual transmission that has such a slick, tight mechanical feel to it. It's a real joy to use, and certainly one of the highlights of this car. Of course, it has to be said that around town that a stiff suspension setup and these large alloy wheels create a rather rough and ready ride, but the reason the setup is like that is because this goes from a bar brawler to a ballet dancer once you get it onto some twisty, windy roads. Its body control is exceptional. It corners wonderfully flat, and teamed with this brilliantly precise steering, you can absolutely assassinate apexes. Whenever you are really on it on a set of country roads in this car, this chassis is your perfect partner. You sort of work in tandem with the car. You can feel it move around you. You can feel the weight shifting forward and aft in the car as you dab.
those wonderfully strong Brembo brakes, and as you go in on the brakes into a corner, you trail it into a corner, the back end goes light, and you really have this ability to pitch the car in even tighter. Those Continental tyres with a bit of heat in them do bite really hard as well. They are brilliant for providing the grip that this car needs. Now, the skeptics out there will say that 306 brake horsepower through the front wheels of a hot hatchback is purely suicidal, but the boffins at Honda have thought about this and, well, engineered the solution. A very clever limited slip differential sits between the two front wheels, as well as something called dual axis suspension, and this almost completely eliminates the torque steer. Nothing that a firm grip of the wheel won't handle on slightly slippy conditions. And it's that element of being front wheel drive, I think, that makes it a bit more of a challenge to drive quickly, and certainly makes it more entertaining than some other all-wheel drive hot hatchbacks. Whilst the Type R's performance is undeniably impressive, there is a means to turn things up to 11 via this +R button. The dashboard goes red, you notice the instant pickup in throttle response, the steering weighting increases to allow even more precise inputs. And also the torque mapping in this car changes to add an added level of immediacy from the engine. Thanks to the added stiffness to the dampers in +R mode, it can be a bit of a backbreaker on our rather bumpy British stretches of tarmac, and it can unsettle the car into corners. However, take it to a racetrack and engage beast mode, and you'll find that this thing is an absolute rocket ship. It is by far and away the most impressive hot hatchback on a racetrack by a country mile. It gives you a setup that is so honed for challenging circuits. I took this car to the Nurburgring in the summer, and I've never driven a car that felt so at home. Now, Honda claim that this car will do 38 mpg combined, and driven gently, I'll be honest with you, it's within the realms of possibility, but it's whether you're going to be driving the car gently or not. That's the thing, because it just wills you to go on. Everything from the way the seat grabs you, the way the steering wheel feels in your hands, the communication between man and machine, the ferocity when that turbo comes into play. These are the ingredients that make the Type R just such a fantastic machine. I'm really going to miss this generation. As of this moment, production has actually ended for the FK2 Civic Type R, but if you're fortunate enough to be able to find a dealer with one of these last black editions in, it will cost you exactly the same as a top specification GT car. That's £32,300. Whether you choose to buy the Type R as your everyday car, a weekend toy, a collector's item, it's going to guarantee you one thing: a massive grin on your face.
Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for all of the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For breaking news and written reviews, visit www.insidelane.co.uk.